My son used fake religious trauma to win his freedom in court, so I gave him all the freedom he could handle. My son Caleb learned early that claiming religious abuse got him whatever he wanted. When he was 13, he told his counselor I forced him to pray, and suddenly I was the zealot mother. At 14, he cried to teachers about mandatory church attendance and got to skip family events. By 15, he was documenting every religious word as evidence. By 16, he filed for emancipation claiming spiritual torture. The prayer incident happened first when Caleb turned 13. I asked him to say grace before dinner, but he wanted to eat immediately. The next day, he sobbed to his counselor that I was forcing religion on him. The counselor called me in and lectured me about respecting teenage autonomy. I left that meeting afraid to mention faith in my own home. A year later, the church battles started getting serious. I expected Sunday morning attendance like every generation before us. Caleb called his absent father crying that I was brainwashing him. His father, who hadn't paid support in years, filed for custody modification the next week. He stood in court talking about his son's religious freedom. He never mentioned Caleb's grandfather's education trust fund waiting for him. The judge reduced my time to every other weekend. Then came the documentation when everything changed forever. Caleb started a journal at 15 recording every prayer and church service. He wrote about psychological torture and forced indoctrination when I simply asked him to respect our traditions. I watched him show teachers these entries with practiced tears. Child Services opened an investigation that same month. Everything exploded when Caleb turned 16. He decided he wanted to move in with his drug-dealing girlfriend. I told him absolutely not while under my roof. 2 days later, his lawyer filed emancipation papers. He testified about years of religious abuse and stolen freedom. He said I threatened his inheritance if he didn't believe. Then he told the judge, she controls my college fund to force compliance. She'll never let me access it unless I go to religious school. The fund required continuous enrollment and passing grades until 25. I watched him cry and peek at the judge through his fingers. His father sat behind him nodding supportively. The judge looked at me with disgust. Something cold settled in my chest. I stopped feeling hurt and started thinking clearly. If he wanted freedom from me, he would get it. The judge ordered mediation before the final hearing. I hired a new lawyer with specific instructions immediately. I would give Caleb exactly what he testified he wanted. I spent weeks studying his situation first. His girlfriend dealt pills and lived in her dealer's apartment. His father had warrants in 3 states that everyone knew about. The trust fund required drug tests and continuous enrollment for any access. I understood what would happen when my protection disappeared. I felt no guilt about what was coming next. I want my son to feel free. If that means staying away from him, then I'll respect his wishes. I said this in court while agreeing to full emancipation. The no-contact order he requested went through immediately. Control of his trust fund transferred to him directly by law. I walked out of that courtroom knowing exactly what would happen next. The trap was set, and Caleb had built it himself. Month 1 passed with Caleb celebrating his victory over me. He dropped out of school the day after court and moved in with his girlfriend. His posts showed constant parties while he burned through his savings. The girlfriend started asking daily about accessing that trust fund money. Month 2 brought the first consequences when reality hit hard. He tried to access the fund but discovered the enrollment requirement was active. His girlfriend told him to get a job since the money wasn't flowing. He forged enrollment documents to get emergency access for rent. He withdrew $3,000 illegally. The trust administrator caught the fraud within days and froze everything. His girlfriend kicked him out when he couldn't pay for her supply. Caleb frantically called lawyers about getting the money. He discovered forgery had voided his access permanently. Month 3 saw everything collapse around him. His father got arrested on the warrants and couldn't help. His girlfriend got busted and named him as her customer. He tried calling me, but his own restraining order blocked all contact. He went back to court begging to undo the emancipation. The judge reminded him he got exactly what he requested under oath. He tried claiming I set him up, but nobody believed him anymore. My parents refused to help after watching him destroy me with lies. He wrote letters about missing his mom while I was legally banned from responding. 2 years later, I live in a different city with my husband and new daughter. Caleb sleeps in shelters between jail stints for petty theft. The restraining order he demanded still prohibits contact. The trust fund was dissolved after his fraud and donated to charity. He got exactly what he swore he needed. Now he lives knowing his lies destroyed his own future.